Welcome to episode 56 of Mitolife Radio. I'm your host, Matt Blackburn. Today I'm speaking with Mack McRuer of Sage and Shepherd Farm. This is another homesteading video, and a lot of you guys might not be there yet. You're deep in the city, you have draconian laws making it illegal to have animals that support your health. But I know that a lot of my listeners are moving in that direction. And I'm very fortunate to have moved to Idaho, where there's a lot less control than there is in California. I'm able to do a lot more here. And it's a process. I've messed around with having chickens and bees in Southern California. And you can do that to some degree, and there's small pockets. But a lot of the time you'll have ridiculous state laws that get in the way of you being able to do stuff. And so a lot of people end up moving to other states to homestead, right? And kind of have some more freedom like we should have in America. That's kind of diminishing with gun laws and different things, but especially with our health, right? And with supporting our brain, not with toxic omega-3s, but with life-supporting fat-soluble vitamins like retinol, which you only get in animal foods, not beta-carotene, not provitamin A, but actual vitamin A, vitamin D, which is jam-packed in milk and eggs, and E and K. And these fat-soluble vitamins have been used therapeutically, even in supplements, but I would recommend, especially A and D, just mostly getting it from your food. Vitamins E and K are a little harder to get. But my point is that we should be moving in this direction, because when I was vegan, I thought that it was all about CAFOs and factory farms, and me and Mack actually get into that discussion a little bit in this show. A lot of people think it's all about factory farming, and that's the meat industry, right? That's animal agriculture, is CAFO, confined animal feeding operations. But no, the future of human health is with small farms, small homesteads, right? Where there's a community and you're trading eggs for honey from your neighbor, or, trading fruit for milk or whatever it is, right? This bartering with your community, and everyone's making something different, and everyone has different fruit trees and different things. That's the ideal, right? And so it's just a direction. Obviously, it's going to take time, especially with money. Like, it took me years and years and years of working really, really hard to get where I am today, to be able to purchase property and create a homestead, right? But don't lose sight of that vision, even if you're driving Uber and Lyft like I did for years. If you're a taxi driver, if you work in retail, don't lose your vision of having your own homestead, because it's totally possible and you will do it. Just keep accumulating the knowledge over years, and eventually you'll get there and you'll be self-sufficient. And of course, there's going to be inputs, and you do your best, right? We're still on the electric grid and different things. But you'll like this interview with Mack, because him and his wife, this has been their journey. They've been in this, I think he says, for about 3 or 4 years in the interview. And he's really knowledgeable. He has a lot of great resources, and he's very open that he learned a lot of it from YouTube and just watching what other people were doing, which has been my experience. You can learn so much. But my top is interviews, because you can be driving, you don't have to watch something. You can be exercising and just throw on Mitolife Radio or a good podcast and be learning, multitasking, essentially. So anyway, here's Mack McRuer. Enjoy. All right, I'm here with Mack McRuer. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah, McRuer.
Okay,
McRuer. Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and so you run a farm with Abigail, and it's like a homesteading operation. You guys have a awesome website, Sage and Shepherd Farm. And I didn't know you actually sell online. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so so it started off it started off as a homestead originally. So this is our second year of like full scale production. But so it really took off this year. So it kind of started off with just a couple of chickens, and then this year we vamped it up like hardcore, and we did about 1,200 birds, including turkey, pheasant, duck, chicken, and geese. And then plus we do pork and lamb.
Oh,
Yeah. So it took off this year. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I've dabbled with like bees and
Cool.
like a couple beehives in Southern California, and I had
Yeah.
3 hens and a rooster. And I think like Costco now, a lot of the Costco's even sell chicken coops. It's kind of funny.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's really easy for people to get into it, as long as the laws, aren't stopping them. Like my friend Megan, I just interviewed, she was saying up in Canada, like raw milk is illegal everywhere, and so
Yep.
I know a lot of places it's like kind of illegal to have chickens, which is kind of stupid.
Yeah. It's illegal to sell unless you put not for human consumption on it. But even still, it's very regulated milk. Like we get raw milk from a friend of ours, but yeah, it's there's a lot of regulations in Canada.
Yeah.
Like hardcore.
Yeah. That's how many chickens did you start with when you began?
We got 15 heritage breeds. We started with Wyandottes and Buff Orpingtons, and they were just layered. Well, there was a mix of, they were unsexed. We bought a straight run, so they're unsexed. So there's 15 pullets and cockerels, and then we actually lost a bunch to a hawk. Hawk killed a lot of it right when we were starting out. Killed a lot of them, but yeah. Anyways, I ended up trapping the hawk, so it worked out. It ended up getting caught in the net.
I was just talking to my, because I'm in North Idaho. I was just talking to the carpenter that's helping me out here on the property, and he was saying he lost almost his whole flock to coyotes, and I guess that's the main thing with chickens and birds, right? Like protecting them.
Yep, coyotes, foxes, martens, weasels. We have them all here. We even have bear near us. So,
where are you guys again?
We're in Sunderland, Ontario. So we're in Ontario. We're in
wow.
Central Ontario, I guess, considered, kind of.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm planning on upgrading this summer once the snow melts. I have a huge space. I want to get at least 20 or 30 chickens. And if everything's automated, I mean, they're one of the easiest things to start with, right? With homesteading.
Oh, yeah. You can get, we don't have one, but you can get like the solar coop door openers and closers. So like, that's awesome. We'll probably get one of those for this season. Just makes things easier.
Yeah, I had one down when I was in California, and it was was an electric one I plugged into the shed, but like it was nice, cool. Waking up and not having to run out there and feeling bad.
Yeah. Or if you forget one night and then a predator gets in, that sucks. So
right. Yeah. And there's different, like I've been researching like egg laying and then meat birds, and then there's combination types. Do most people go for the combination, or?
Like if on a homestead level, on a home scale, like, dual purpose is the way to go. We like them personally because they're hardier breeds. So for our winters, even they're a lot tougher. So like the Buff Orpington or Wyandottes, those are good. And Buff Orpingtons get really big, so they're really good for meat. But they also lay generally well too. Pretty good.
That's cool. Yeah. And I was hearing like they can get, if you get the wrong breed, they can get frostbite, or the roosters with the huge thing. That's not the winter style. Right?
Yep, that's happened to us. They'll get frostbite. It'll turn black and then it'll fall off. But they can handle it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, and then so you guys moved up, and you have pheasants, ducks, geese, pork. I just got a bunch of duck fat, like really high quality pastured duck fat.
Nice.
That's my favorite. Like I'm
Yeah.
kind of in a little hipster area. There's like a lot of farm to
Yeah.
tables, and
Okay. Yeah.
fairly
Yeah.
close to Washington, and so
Yeah.
uh, I like to get my duck nachos or duck fat fries, and that's like
Yeah.
pretty big up here.
Yeah. It's really good. We love geese and duck. Like geese, especially, they're really good. They were, they're really delicious. The filet mignon of this sky, except they don't fly. Ours don't fly.
Are they pretty similar as far as like husbandry practices? Like I know ducks need like a little, like you can use a pool, a kiddie pool, right, or something.
Yeah, yeah. So ducks and geese, they require a lot of water. So that's the biggest battle you have to face when you're dealing with them. Um, so as long as you have a constant supply of water, and they're good. But geese are actually very easy because when you first get goslings, they only require for 2 weeks grain. After that, they can just forage on grasses and weeds. So they're the perfect, in terms of pastured poultry, I'd say they're kind of um, the future, I think.
Interesting. So you think they're better to go with than the ducks?
Yeah, ducks are like, so they're really messy. Like waterfowl in general are just really messy because they bathe in the water. And then depending if you have it like kind of a drinking area, if you put nipples on, like water nipples on kind of like a 55-gallon drum or something like that, you could do that. Keeps it from getting dirty all the time. So there's different ways you can get around that. But yeah, they're less work, kind of like depending on your management style, like how you want to manage them. Um, but they're both great. Like, yeah, we really enjoy the waterfowl.
That's cool. And you
Mhm.
mentioned they require a lot of water. Like I have a creek running through the property
Oh,
here, which
nice.
is amazing. But they need standing water, right? Like more of a pool lake situation.
No, that I mean that would
Right.
be great. Like you could get Muscovies. That's a good
Mhm.
duck breed. They're really quiet, so they're nice. Sometimes you get certain breeds and they quack like crazy and they're really loud, but they're a good breed and they can also fly. So you can kind of, but they'll stick around if you raise them in your area, they're going to stick around. But they also have an advantage to get away from predators because they can at least fly, as opposed to Pekins, which we raise. We raise a lot of Pekins and they can't fly. So, but those would be perfect for by our stream there.
And the Muscovy is as a duck, right?
Yeah, that's a
That's
duck
a
duck
type of duck.
breed. Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking up the picture on Wikipedia. They kind of have like a red face. It's
Yeah,
really
they have kind of like it almost looks like warts all over their nose, sort of thing. But yeah, no, they're a great breed. We've had a couple of them before too, and they're good.
interesting. And so what would you do during the winter, like when it snows over? I mean, would they just kind of be on grain and kind of more indoors? And like,
Yeah,
could they be okay without water for half the year, or like a
I would
body of water?
still give. Yeah, I would still give them water for sure.
Mm.
But what you can do is you can get different sorts of heaters. Like we have for our stock tanks for our sheep, we have heaters, and you just place that in the water, and then the only problem is you'd have to change it relatively often. But
Mm.
yeah, that just kind of happens with ducks because they're just messy. But yeah,
Yeah, I noticed that when I was keeping my chickens. I mean, that's with any animal. You're going to have poop. They're not going to poop
yeah,
in the toilet, right? They're going to poop anywhere.
yeah, yeah. And there's different ways you can get around that. Like for us, we have the way we farm. Everything's portable, so we never have a coop that's in one place. Like we have our chicken tractor or our chicken coop, like for our egg layers, has mesh on the bottom and it's on two big wheels. So we wheel that around, like we move that every couple days, so we don't ever have to clean out a coop. Just so that it's helping fertilize all of our pasture as well. So there's ways to get around that for sure. And it just makes more sense. Less work, really, cleaning stuff out.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm going to have it's already a structure there, almost like a shed type, but it's open air,
Nice.
which is nice.
Yeah, nice. That's
Um,
good.
And so I'm thinking of just like spraying effective microorganisms or
Yeah.
soil-based organisms to kind of clean. I think a lot of people use those. Or
Yep. Yep. You can do that. And you can throw down charcoal to take the smell down and ammonia. Yeah.
oh, cool. Have you guys experimented with beekeeping? Because that's kind of a passion of mine. I eat a lot of honey and stuff.
Nice. No, we haven't. We have a bunch of friends that have that keep bees, and we might get a hive put on our farm this season. Not sure, but there's a bunch close by, so it's not really needed in our area. But we might. Yeah, it's cool. It's a very cool. Yeah, bees are cool.
The only downside is you attract bears. Like there was this black
Yeah.
bear that just kept coming by and climbing the fence, and he knocked it down like 10 times. And after the 10th time, I was like, it's done. I give up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the thing, especially around, yeah, where we are too, we have bears, and you could put polybraid, like electric lines around it, and that's what some our friends do. But yeah, no, if they're hungry enough, though, they'll still figure out a way.
Yeah. So we kind of jumped right in. Like what made you get into this and homesteading and just this way of life? Like were you raised in the city or like
Yeah, like yeah, so we're both, me and Abby, my wife, we're both from um I guess I was kind of like raised in the village of Markham, so it's kind of like where I was. It wasn't really, it was, I guess, kind of suburbs, and then same with Abby, she's from the suburbs. um yeah, but we just kind of got into it through, like, Joel Salatin's a big inspiration to us, and we kind of uh got connected to him through, I guess, through I think it was Food Inc. was probably the first time I'd ever heard of Joel Salatin. Um, so, and then when we met, the first night we met, actually, we started talking with Joel Salatin. So it was kind of funny that we ended up here, because this wasn't really our plan to do any of this stuff. We were doing other things. I'm a carpenter by trade, and she's a landscape designer. So we're doing another little business where we would help people do urban farms. So I would build like raised beds and stuff for people, and then she would do like the landscape design, but it'd be more edible based. So different sorts of fruits and um, vegetables. And but then when we moved up here, we tried out some chickens, and then it just kind of took over. And John Siskovich, he's a farmer um, who really inspired us as well. And he's he made plans for what's called the Siskovich style chicken tractor. So basically, it's Joel Salatin's. It's an upgrade to Joel Salatin's chicken tractor, where you raise meat birds in them, and it's just a better height that you can actually walk in there, and it's easier to access and feed them and water them and stuff. So, anyways, I got connected to him somehow, and we built a bunch, and then started doing our first batch of meat birds, and then it kind of just took off from there, and we just expanded into pork, and we got sheep, and the birds, a lot more birds. So yeah, it just kind of happened.
that's cool. How do you spell that guy's name? Siskovy?
Siskovich. So John, and then Suvich.
Oh, okay. But he
Yeah.
kind of upgraded the chicken tractor idea.
Yeah, it's kind of like a new take on Joel Salatin's. So you can actually walk in it instead of Joel Salatin's is just like I think they're 4x8 and only about 2 feet tall, and they're flat. They're flat roof, where Siskovich's are like an A-frame, and you can easily go in there, easily water them. But now we actually don't even use those. We switched to just electric poultry net for the birds. It's a lot less labor, and we just move them once a week as opposed to once every day. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, I forget how I found Joel Salatin. It might have just been a YouTube video or something that
yeah,
someone sent
yeah,
me. But I like that he calls himself a grass farmer and not really
yeah, yeah,
a beef because it's all about the grass health, right? And,
for sure. Yeah, the soil. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the key.
And yeah, Food Inc. It's sad. There's all these. I'm sure you're aware, like Game Changers and all these stupid propaganda
Yeah.
vegan films.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess there's little nuggets you can find in some of these documentaries, But yeah, I
Yeah.
remember.
Oh yeah.
Food Inc. That's an old one.
Yeah. No, yeah. We recently got our first vegan protesters. So that was interesting. They said they were going to show up to one of our markets. They never showed up, but they talked a lot of trash on on Instagram. Yeah, but yeah, they're just it's crazy. They look at us and they want to fight against us, but they're not going after an industrialized CAFO or something, right? We're a big factory farm, or I don't know. It's completely different than what we're doing. So I don't know why they're trying to come after us.
Yeah, I had Tristan Haggard on the show, and he was talking about all the. I mean, it's really deep with the connections between veganism and, I mean, transhumanism and the psychedelic movement, and
Mm-hmm.
there's so many avenues to it. But and the fake meat movement, like the Beyond Meat burger and the possible,
Yep.
that's that's all funded by or when they purchase that fake meat, they're actually funding the CAFOs, right? Like Tyson Foods and Cargill. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. No, it's hilarious. It's just crazy. I don't understand. And they seem to turn a blind eye, especially the hardcore vegan activists who are all against meat in terms of climate change.
Mhm.
So they don't really know anything about how regenerative farming, like how we farm, how it actually can sequester carbon, and they don't care about that, I guess. But it's more. I find a lot of them are more because they're sentient beings that they like because the animals are sentient or whatever that they uh, that's kind of their, no matter how you farm, it's still a living animal that shouldn't be killed. Um, but it's funny because they'll still have all of their monocrops and not realize that when a combine goes through a monocrop, it's destroying and killing thousands of animals and different species. And so, is a cow more sacred than a snail? Like, I don't know what's more valuable, right? So I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I've said it's really related to spirituality, and I
Mm,
truly believe that because I got lost in the whole Eastern mysticism, meditation, channeling, cards, just all sorts of stuff, and I'm grateful to have come out of that and back to Christ, and I just
yep.
think it's a spiritual mindset, of people just getting lost, and I think that the scriptures are pretty clear
Yeah,
with
no,
that, but.
for sure. Yeah, no,
Um,
I think people are looking for purpose and they find
mhm.
it in all these other things. So,
So you were telling me you put some minerals in the sheep's diet.
yeah, so what we do, we follow Mineral Lick by a farmer. She's a farmer out in Australia, Pat Colby. And so her Mineral Lick, so it's all free choice. We have them. We have kelp, so organic kelp, yellow dusting sulfur, feed grade limestone, which is rich in calcium and magnesium, a bit of magnesium. We give them magnesium oxide. We give them copper sulfate and selenium salt. So because of our soils um, have been farmed so heavily over hundreds of years, the last 100 years or whatever, they're so depleted in a lot of these, and that's a good way to get those back into the soil. Is now giving it to the ruminants, them just spreading it back out onto the pastures. So we're really low in selenium where we are, along with I think like everywhere in North America. Um, so we have to give them a supplement of that, and then there's lots of other supplements like calcium, magnesium. They get that. All sorts of good stuff in kelp, tons of B vitamins and everything in there. Um, so yeah, it's just another way to replenish the soil with the minerals.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think people are missing the mineral piece, and I always face palm whenever I see people talking about the minerals in vegetables and green juice and vegetable juices, and
Yeah.
it's like, no, the animals can transmute toxic minerals into usable form, and
Yep.
because the soil's so trash, it's not only depleted, it's toxic. That or if we go to the vegetables, then we're just getting straight uncut poison. But at least if the animals are eating that, like I tell people, if they're supplementing magnesium carbonate, it's pretty useless, but at least if you have some carbon dioxide in your body, then you can break down the carbonate. But the animals,
Yeah.
I mean, they're way better at this than us.
Oh
So
yeah.
the ruminants.
Yeah, no, and it's amazing, to see them, because it's all free choice. They take what they need, so they're really in tune with their bodies. They know, okay, if I'm deficient in copper, I'm going to go lick some of that copper sulfate, and it's just amazing. And I remember when we first started to do the mineral lick, I remember talking to some people at like our local co-op saying, "Oh yeah, I need some copper sulfate for my sheep," and they freak out. They're like, "Whoa, you can't give copper to sheep. They're gonna because copper can affect sheep. They can get copper toxicity relatively easy as opposed to cattle." But no, like I watch these guys go right up to copper sulfate. They start licking it, and if we started doing that, I'm sure we would be as poisonous to us. But for them, they need it, and then exactly they are able to transmit it through their body and um, turn it into something good for us to then consume through them. So it's pretty amazing.
I love it. Yeah, I'm always fascinated by goats too. I drink so much raw goat's milk that
Yeah.
goats are the only known animal that can generate their own vitamin E. They can
It's
actually
amazing.
synthesize. Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad you brought up climate change because I interviewed this really interesting man named Dr. Dean Bonley. He's in Nevada, and like 20 years ago, he invented like magnetic sleep pads that are way beyond the Niken. And they've seen
Hmm.
benefits like fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, and just intelligently designed strong magnetic pads. And he doesn't believe the global warming, narrative. Neither
Mm-hmm.
do I. And I guess there's a lot of research to show that the Earth is actually cooling.
Hmm.
I have a friend, Grow Sanctuary, I'll probably have on here, and he talks about the grand solar minimum the sun's going through right now, and it's a cycle, and we're actually going into another ice age, which is the
Hmm.
exact opposite of what they're telling us. So,
Yeah.
it's I guess it's that thing, right? Whatever they say on the news, it's 180 pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. No, I know. Yeah, it's people. Yeah, no, there's a lot of fake news out there. No, I do believe I'm not like, and the thing with me, it's like, and the way we farm and everything, we're not denying that we have an impact, and I think that's what people think, especially like conservatives or whatever, like, um, or liberals think of conservatives or whatever, right? That we don't believe that we have an impact. That we just love going mudding in our trucks and doing all sorts of like hillbilly stuff, and who cares about the environment? But it's not true, and we play a factor as humans, but I don't think it's to the extent that I think it gets blown out of proportion, and I think it also there's so many just through regenerative farming methods, like how you can literally white oak pastures. I'm not sure if you're familiar with white oak pastures, but they're a farm um, in Georgia, and they did a study, and they actually sequester more carbon than they emit, so they're actually carbon negative. Um, and that's pretty amazing. So they're actually taking carbon out of the atmosphere as opposed to continuing to release it just through regenerative farming methods. So rotational grazing of ruminants and their poultry. Um, so it's really cool. Like I don't know, people just it's still, I guess it's still new. It's these are old concepts, but they're coming back, I guess, and people are it's catching on. It's definitely catching on. But it's going to take a little while, I think, especially with the vegan propaganda shouting like in your face and not letting the regenerative farmers be like, "Hey, what about us over here? We can help." So
Yeah, as a former vegan myself, I was doing the plant-based thing for like, I don't know, 9 years. And I'm surprised that I actually made it out alive.
yeah.
But the protein piece is so important, and that's not in plants. And the fat soluble vitamin piece, especially, you know, E and K, but also A and D. And just, I mean, I've seen so many people fall apart in front of my eyes, and you just see accelerated aging and brain deterioration. And I think it really opens people up to a lot of these, you know, ideas about, cow farts causing climate change and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But that's interesting though about being carbon negative. That's super cool. I always think about like if everything collapsed, like what would I do? And it's so funny. Like I hope it doesn't happen in the next even 2 or 3 years, because I probably still won't be ready. Hoping we have at least 5 or so. But
Yeah.
like the ideal is to have less inputs required to keep your operation going, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys kind of
Exactly.
strive for that? Because it when you start, you probably need a ton, but once it's going, you can kind of decrease that a little bit.
Yeah, like, and what's cool about the way we farm is that for all of our infrastructure, all of it's portable. So if we need to, like right now, we've kind of maxed out our land, um, so we're kind of looking to move or rent neighboring lands, but to compete with cash crop prices is pretty tough. So we might end up just having to move completely. But we haven't really invested anything on our farm other than the livestock. And like obviously all the portable netting and the solar energizers and all that sort of stuff. But all that stuff can be moved. So it's also beneficial in the sense that, well, I'm not putting, 20 grand in fencing all over my farm. I have all my fencing here and I can take it with me. Um, and if I'm running out of land, I can go down to my neighbors, set up a paddock with my electro net for my sheep, throw them in there, rotate them every 3 to 7 days, and they can come back here once the grass is regrown back here after the chickens have run through it. But yeah, like it can cost quite a bit, but at the same time, as long as you think portable infrastructure, and that's something Joel Salatin is really heavy on, keep everything portable. That way, you're not tied down to anything, and you can kind of it's best for the animals too. Like you're mimicking nature, right? Biomimicry. Like no animal stays in one spot for too long; they're always moving. So that's kind of what we do through our rotational grazing methods and stuff like that. So
That's really cool. And I would imagine that the size of the property matters. Like I have a little over 4 acres here, but it's mostly
yeah,
like steep hill and just dense like forest and trees. But I'm
yeah,
just planning on having like everything just free range in,
yeah,
chilling all over the house, just walking around.
yeah.
Is that, I mean, that you don't really need portable infrastructure if it's like just a really small house and you're just letting them roam around. Like,
Yeah, like still, I guess still even on a small scale, I'd still want to have some control over it. Or else, depending on what you have, like for instance, if you wanted to have um, like chickens, like you're gonna have chickens, are you interested in like pigs or anything like that, or more just chickens?
I think more chickens, but yeah, I
Yeah.
guess pigs and sheep, they would just wander off forever, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, but the benefit of pigs is that their noses are amazing tilling machines. So there's lots I could talk about with pigs. They're awesome. We put them through our forest, and they're helping us create what's called silvopasture. So essentially, they're tilling up um, an old pine forest, and as they till that up, because it's a man planted pine forest, so there's probably about 2 or 3 inches of just needles all over. So nothing's really growing in there. Even though there's enough light where it could actually have some pasture grow through there or different saplings and stuff. So what we did this past season is we ran them through there, and they actually tilled all through there. And then as they uncovered the soil, because the soil had been trapped underneath all the layers of needles, I put pasture grasses down, so different shade grasses, shade tolerant pasture grasses, and it was amazing, like what's grown there now, and then that eventually that 2 acre forest will now be able to be grazed by sheep in this spring. So it's kind of cool. They're amazing animals, but yeah, they would definitely take off unless they were some sort of net was around them. But the benefit of these nets is they're all portable, so you can, because you need rest periods. Everything needs rest. So the soil, the grasses, they all need rest to an extent. So you can totally have like a free range system, but I would still recommend like having certain sections and then you have them in there for a couple weeks, move them to another spot for a couple weeks, etc. Just kind of keep them rotating. And but Justin Rhodes is another big YouTuber that we kind of big fans of, and he kind of got us started as well. And what he does actually with his chickens is he creates garden beds. He lets them do all the work. So they'll scratch and till in certain areas, and then he'll add compost, and then they just keep spreading it, and then all of a sudden it's created a super nutrient dense soil that you can then plant in, and then you rotate them to another spot. And so you let the animals do the work for you, pretty much.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I already subscribed to 2 new channels, and it's funny if people will just replace like Netflix movie night with like watching channels like this. I think we'd be better off, right?
Yeah, no, I love YouTube. Like it's, man, we've learned everything we've done pretty much off of YouTube and some books, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a shortcut. People are like, this is what I'm doing. This is how I did it. And you learn it within 20, 30 minutes, right?
Yeah. No, it's so fast and so convenient, and it's free.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's really interesting, though, about the pigs and the tilling. So they're not like chickens, because I had the automatic door thing and they would come back in at night. Pigs like don't know when to come back pretty much, even when it gets dark, or?
Depending, like really for pigs, like you just need some sort of shelter, depending on what kind of shelter you want to have for them. But we use, well, in the summertime, because we just grow wiener pigs. So they're just weaned pigs, and we just grow them out and then take them to market. So we don't farrow, which is like we have a sow and a boar, and we don't breed. We just do that for the sheep. So they would need some sort of shelter, but they're really tough. Like, especially if you get a heritage breed, like we raise Berkshire Tamworth crosses and wild boar Hereford Berkshire crosses as well. And they are just so tough. And as long as they can keep warm, they're pretty good. So
that's cool. Yeah, I interviewed, you probably know John Moody. I had him on the show a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think he's writing a book on pigs, because those are, I guess they're super underrated. People think they're just dirty animals, but they're
so clean,
versatile, right? And
yeah, they're awesome. They'll create their own bathroom section, right, of the different paddocks you're putting them in. So they'll go off to the bathroom there, and then it's amazing. They're very clean. They're very intelligent, very intelligent. They'll test. They like to test fences, and if they know a fence isn't hot, they'll escape. That's happened to us. We lost 12 pigs, went like 4 fields over from our place, and but I was able to get them back, because as long as you spend time with them and they get accustomed to you, and they're not stressed. Like, our pigs are not stressed out at all, so they're okay to come back. They're like, oh, I'll come back, no problem. I want to hang out with you, So that's the benefit too of like just caring for your animals and just letting them be a pig, right?
Yeah. I met at the Paleo FX conference. I went to that for the first time last year, and met this guy that started the piggery, and he markets low PUFA pork. And
cool.
I thought that was kind of cool. And he was really interesting, because he was saying like even like gourmet restaurants or whatever, they'll say like, acorn fed pigs, and that's the ideal, but acorns are pretty high in polyunsaturated fatty acids. And so I think he's actually creating like a low PUFA meal to give to pigs, you can just buy, or he's open about what he uses. But yeah, he sells like, bacon and pork chops and all that on his website. Cool. But yeah, I'm sure you've seen me talk about the PUFA thing. That's a big, I think it just comes down to getting more saturated fats than PUFAs.
Yeah, but, for sure. So it's called the piggery?
The piggery. Yeah, the piggery.net. And it's pretty cool. I think definitely the diet of the animal matters, right? Especially with non-ruminants. It's like more important.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, we, and exactly. And where they get to forage, right? So our pigs, we run them through forest, you run them through pasture. And then some other pig farms, like eventually what we want to do, we don't have enough land yet, but we want to run them through different cover crops. So I know a couple guys that put them through turnip fields, through all sorts of like clover, like just different legumes like peas, all sorts of stuff like that, and they'll run them through all those cover crops, which is pretty cool. But about our pigs get about one third, a little more than one third of their diet just off of forage that they find, where the conventional hogs are getting none of that. They don't get to use their nose. They're in concrete housing. I think pigs get it the worst out of all factory farmed animals because they're such intelligent animals and they don't get to do anything. There's a conventional pig farm not too far from us, and it's rough. It's just a prison.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up conventional farms and the concrete prison, because what turned me like vegan years ago was seeing earthlings, and I just got so emotional, and I was like, wow, is this how all the farms are? And I didn't know about farms like yours, right, that are doing it humanely and properly. I was thinking about it the other day, like how many, I mean, is it mainly the fast food joints that are sourcing from these CAFOs? And I wonder what percentage of the total like meat production in the U.S. is CAFO.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the statistics of that for sure, but I would say, it would be like upwards of 90. I can imagine.
Yeah, and I guess their argument is like we couldn't feed everyone, if everyone ate meat, but like, I mean, it's really small farms, right, that we need to support and grow.
Yeah, and that's Joel Salatin's got a really good video on where he counteracts that argument of, well, we can't feed the world unless we do it this way. And that's just so not true. It's just so not true. Everybody could have laying hens at their house if it was legal, right? If all the bylaws changed, they're not loud, they're not annoying. They're amazing animals that produce nutrient dense food for you. Like why are we saying no to that? It's mind boggling that some places they just don't allow it. Like even some municipalities around here that are kind of farming communities in the city core, when you're not rural residential, when you're just residential, you still can't have chickens. It's like, that's ridiculous. Why not? They're chickens. They're not loud unless you get a rooster. So what's the big deal? It's so wild.
Yeah, that is crazy. I think I saw YouTube where someone was saying quail are better than chickens because they're a lot quieter.
Yeah, you could do quail for sure. You could do pheasants if you wanted. If you had some sort of, they can fly, so you kind of have to be some sort of indoor closed-in thing. But yeah. No, it's true though. You can.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, go for it.
I was just gonna say, I think once you feel the power of pastured eggs and grass-fed beef and local meat and high quality, there's no going back. Like you feel what your strength and energy and brain is like on these high quality animal fats and proteins, and you're like, okay, we need more of this for humanity.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Yeah. It's so true. I remember because we didn't always eat the way we eat now, right? So I remember, having probably my first our first eggs were like, this is amazing. That's crazy. But you can taste the difference for sure. It's just the education, and that's what we're pretty big on, like especially on our Instagram and our website. And I'm always trying to put out information out there for people to be like, this is what you should look for. Like we have a lot of followers. We're getting a decent amount of followers, even though not a lot of them are customers. There are just a lot of followers that are interested in how we farm, why we farm. And what I love to do is just put out information and say, you don't have to be a consumer to me. Like you can go, if you're in the States, go find a local farm that does stuff the way we do it. And there's tons of them. There's tons of them around. It's just, you just gotta, it's not the convenience, right? That's where people shy away from this sort of stuff. It's because it's not convenient. But I don't know. It's like, we're trying to get that to change. But local farmers markets are so good for that.
Yeah. For me, it's not convenient to like have to, pick up 6 to 8 dozen eggs every week. Like it'd be nice to just walk to my backyard and collect.
Yeah.
That's really convenient to me.
Oh yeah. No, and it's awesome and it's fun and you get to experience it, right? As opposed to just going and buying something and you have no connection to it. You don't know where it came from. You don't know who grew it. You don't know what it was fed. And that's the beauty of raising your own on a homestead level, or at least just getting to know a local farmer that practices regenerative farming or at least sustainable farming or grass-based, whatever you want to call it. And just making that connection to that person. It's pretty cool. Like try to make sure they're transparent about everything and good to go. Right. So
That's awesome. Yeah. I miss giving my chickens my ultra filtered bicarbonate rich water with no acid rain in it. That's
for sure.
I think it did change the taste of the eggs. It's like, I feel like the water was the most important piece. I mean, I fed them pretty good food. I think it was soy free. It was non-GMO corn feed, but
yep.
I mean, the eggs tasted really good. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then this is a good segue actually. That these first questions are all about chickens actually.
Yeah.
Best breed of chicken for eggs. That's based on where you live, right? Geographically or with the
yeah, it depends. So yeah, I mean Canada, so in the States they have what's called there's different breeds in different countries, but generally the best breed, what was it? The best breed for eggs?
The best breed of chicken for egg production.
So in Canada, we have what's called red sex link. So essentially, it's a Rhode Island red crossed with, I'm forgetting what the other breed is, but Rhode Island reds are great. I would always say, I always recommend to people, if you're going to get chickens, get a heritage breed. You're not going to get maybe the same egg production as like a white leghorn. Like a white leghorn is like a commercial breed that you see they have a floppy comb and they're white. And those are the big kind of factory farmed egg layers. But try to get like a red sex link, like some sort of in between, because that's a cross between a commercial breed and a kind of heritage breed. So I'd say something like that. And dual purpose is always good too, in case you end up eating them. They're good too for that. But red sex link, Rhode Island red. That's like a really common good one.
I think that's the one that I got, and I just lucked out because I bought the chickens. I think it was like even illegal or quasi illegal because there was a chicken flu going around, and I just found it, and they were about to be like go to a quinceanera or something. Like it was like someone's backyard. Really? It was really bad living conditions, and I mean, I feel like I took them from hell straight to heaven, but
you rescued them. For sure.
Right. But yeah, the Rhode Island Reds were beautiful birds, for sure. Yeah. So, is it really time consuming to raise them correctly? Chickens?
No, I would say no. It's trying to think of like on a homestead level, how long it would take me to do like chores for chickens. Like 5 minutes, it would be like nothing. It's really not much as long as they've got food and water. And depending on your methods, right? If you wanted to have a coop that you can move once a day, so you never have to clean out a coop, which is, I'm always about doing less work, farming smart, not as much work, right? So doing that method, like you move it, give them some water and feed, and you're off to work or whatever else you got to do. And it's like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes a day. Pretty easy. Then you get nutrient dense eggs. It's perfect.
That's awesome. And when, like, if you do have a stationary coop, like the one I had was like that, do you generally just kind of scoop out the hay, like put some gloves on, get a trash bag, just fill out the poop filled hay or something? Is that kind of the strategy that most people use? Or
like you'd have your laying like your nesting boxes, right? And then you have whatever you decide to use as bedding. I would use probably pine shavings are the best because they keep the smell down. They last a lot longer. Straw will tend to rot. Like we experimented using straw and pine shavings for our brooder for our chicks when we first get our batches of chicks. And it's so much easier with pine shavings. It costs more, obviously, but the smell and the sanitation, because of all the oils from pine, it smells better, keeps the ammonia levels down. It's better for the birds, better for you. So I would definitely recommend pine shavings. And I'll even get some from my neighbor down the road. He's a carpenter. And he does stairs, and all of his shavings from his shop. Like if you can find somebody around you that does like either hardwood, you just can't have cedar. Cedar is toxic to chickens.
Good to know.
So,
I wonder, because I have a ton of pine trees. Could I make it myself? I guess that'd be really time consuming, right?
Yeah, that would be. But if you were like, but if you wanted to like mill your own lumber or something, and you just take the excess and you bag them up and you kind of dry them, you can do that too, for sure.
That's really cool. How many chickens do you need to produce eggs for a family of 3 to 4?
Well, if a chicken lays an egg a day, how
many eggs do they eat?
Yeah, it's like how many eggs do you eat a day? You kind of let it build up, and then you kind of you would kind of like have a system of it. But I don't know. I guess like 3 to 4 would probably be more than enough. Yeah,
because people will probably take days off here and there while it builds up.
Yeah, for sure.
How much money does it cost to have chickens, and what is the best feed? PUFA free.
PUFA free.
I don't know about that.
Like it doesn't cost too much. Like if you're gonna buy a chicken, like they usually go for, if you want to buy a 6-month-old that's ready to lay, they probably go about $10 if you're getting it from like a hatchery. But if you find like a local breeder and you get a heritage breed, they might be a little bit more. So the cost of that, and then the cost of it can vary, like depending on your coop and how big you want it. Well, you can do it for cheap. Like you could probably have a whole up and running system for like under a couple $100. And then just for like 3 to 4 hens, I'd say, or something like that. Couple $100 get you going. Then the feed depends. Yeah, like for us, we do a non-GMO grain mix. Just check out their local mills for different feed options.
Cool. Yeah, I think I was using one from the Bay Area. Was it called Milton's, or start with an M? Cool. But it was pretty good quality. This is a big question and probably a whole show, but how to make the healthiest soil?
Have a whole ecosystem of different species. Like, so the benefit of us grazing our ruminants, right? So our sheep are our ruminants. So we graze them. So we use a leader follower system. So they're the first ones to go out into a certain pasture, and then the chickens follow, or all the poultry essentially follow, about maybe a week behind. They're about a week behind usually. So that gives the chance for the sheep to take down the grass to a certain height where the chickens will still be able to eat some, and able to spread manure and eat the fly larvae in their manure. Because you get lots of manure flies. They're called yellow manure flies that lay, and chickens love them. Like they're the best things for them. And you want to have, ideally you want to have ruminants, and you want to have some sort of birds following. And then once the chickens go through, about a month or so later, if you come back to that pasture, it'll explode. Like that pasture now will be the grasses will be amazing, be so green, so nutrient dense for the next round for the sheep to come through. So we let our pastures rest about 30 to 60 days. And then there's some farms that take it to the next level. They have more acreage, but they even rest some pastures for like 3 years, like 2 or 3 years, to really let it regenerate. yeah, you want to have like that kind of leader follower system. Like ruminants are really key, for sure.
That's awesome. What's the most challenging aspect of the homesteading lifestyle that you've experienced?
Probably, well, depending where you move away from a lot of people, like your friends and family. So that can be tough. That's probably the toughest part, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Depends if you're a really hard worker and you're just like, then it's no problem at all. But if it's going to be, if you come from a world of you've never touched a hammer in your life or something, then it's going to be a big shock to your system. But as long as you're motivated and you got a passion for it, then there's nothing that can hold you back there for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty much my story, because I was raised with computers and I used to make stop motion films and claymation films growing up. And I was just more in my head, more in my imagination, didn't really use my hands besides with like sculpting and clay. And so, yeah, this is all new to me, but I do feel the emotional and mental benefits from doing more manual labor.
Yeah.
Like just being here alone, doing all this stuff. It's like, it's healthy for every aspect of a human being, I think.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I've seen you, there's a lot of snow. You guys got a lot of snow right now. So I've seen your pathways you've been shoveling. That's crazy.
Yeah, because there's parts of North Idaho that are like more in the city where it's not as heavy. But when you get into like valleys and at different elevations, like I'm in a valley where we just get dumped on. So I'm like in like the most concentrated snow area, which is kind of fun. I mean, if you work from home, I don't think it's that big of an issue.
Yeah, no, for sure.
This is a good one. Do you have plastic-free solutions for meat storage, like for in a freezer? Brand specifics would be good, because they said he knows about butcher paper, but he hasn't been able to find one without plastic in it.
Yeah, that could be tough. Our butcher paper, we use butcher paper for all of our sales and stuff on our meat. Ours has like a wax coating, so to be honest, I don't know for sure if it's plastic free or not. But it seems to me it's a wax, and I've been told it's a wax by our butcher, our processor. So if you can find that, they would have to source it, or if you can maybe find it and they would purchase it, but I don't know the brand. I don't know the brand, but yeah, butcher wrap.
Yeah, there's a bees. You might have seen like the beeswax food wraps that are.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. We use those too for like our own stuff. Yeah, those are sweet. You could do that for sure.
That would be cool if those were. Yeah, I'm sure it would be a ton of money to package all your meat in those. But I guess when you get it, you could kind of put it in that or whatever if you want. So
yeah, I mean on a homestead level, yeah, why not? It would probably be expensive, but if you get some sort of wholesale thing and maybe a couple more people, some friends or family want to get in on it too or something, you split the cost. But that would be great. That would be great for even us to eventually get into, is wrapping all of our stuff in reusable beeswax paper. That's a cool idea. I might use that.
Yeah, I like the company Glory Bee. They have a lot of good beekeeping material, and you can usually buy it at your co-op or tractor store. But I saw they had like a beeswax solar solar condenser, which I thought was awesome. Like, if you have bees, you can just put the wax in there, let the sun do its thing, and collect the wax into whatever you want. So it'd be cool to like make your own beeswax coated,
Yeah, that would be super cool.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think that's it. I think we gave a lot of little practical. I'm just trying to have a bunch of different people on with homesteading and hunting knowledge to kind of give people places to start. And I like that we talked a lot about chickens, just because those are a good entry. I think a lot of people get confused, like, where do I start? And then if they can't answer that question, then they're just like, forget it.
Yeah. No, we were like that. We were got to read all these different books on chickens. We got to figure it out. Like, oh no, we can't get them yet. We're not ready. But it's just they're so easy. Like you just as long as they have food, water, shelter, and they can handle your elements wherever you are, then they're good.
I love it. Awesome, Mac. Well, yeah, I'll put the links below to your website and your Instagram, and you have a lot of great blogs too. Ways to freeze zucchini, canning for beginners. I need to read that one before the summer because I have apple and plum trees here, and I'm sure even with as much fruit as I consume in the summer, I won't be able to keep up.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, Abby does. She likes to. She's been doing a lot of blog posts. So it's been awesome. Well, the website should be up and running too by then. So
awesome. Well, yeah. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Mac. I'm gonna close it out.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thanks.
Hope you guys enjoyed that episode with Mac. Probably some terms to look into, carbon negative, etc. But I liked all the tips about the different animals and the different breeds, and I thought that was a really fun Q&A. It's an endless rabbit hole of stuff to look into. Definitely have to experiment and have a lot of failures. I can relate to that with my homesteading. Made a lot of mistakes. Had to start from scratch, destroy what I made, and then start over from nothing. And that's just how it is, right? And that's how you learn. And it can be frustrating, but to me, it's one of the most rewarding things. I mean, to just walk in your backyard and grab some eggs instead of having to go to the store and buy them is just an awesome, awesome feeling. So I'll put the link to Mack's website below. Their website's sageandshepherd.com. And I get a lot of messages from people saying they can't find good quality meats at their store. And so you can just go to this website and have it shipped to you. If you're in Canada, they're based in Ontario. And on my website, I have a link to US Wellness Meats if you're in the US. And there's a lot of great websites where they'll actually ship you high quality, grass-fed, pastured, properly raised animal meat. And if you want to get serious, I really recommend investing a couple $100 in a chest freezer, at Sears or wherever, even if it's a small one, and pack that thing full of frozen meat, frozen ground meat, steaks, whatever you're into, and just start consuming red meat consistently from a good source. That absolutely changed my life. A lot of my meals are just, ground beef or ground bison or ground elk or venison with some white rice, right? Or some wild rice from my friend Ben Belty. And you get your carb, your protein, and it's such an easy meal. So check out their website, sageandshepherd.com. They have some awesome blogs and free resources for you to learn and start your own homestead. You can do it. It might just take some time, but don't lose hope. Just start to move in that direction, even if it's just in your mind. If you want to support my work, you can go to matt-blackburn.com. I just threw up my gummy bear recipe on there, created a recipe section. I have a whole blog section. I have all my recommended products. And then my brand is Mitolife. You could buy those products at mitolife.co. Been having some Shilajit stocking issues. So if you ordered and you're waiting on your order, thanks so much for your patience. Trying to streamline the whole process, but that's a very popular, very affordably priced product, and so I keep running out of it. But I will catch up at some point, I promise. So thank you guys for purchasing my product. If you're not purchasing my product, thanks for just listening to the show. Support good people like Mack at Sage and Shepherd. I think they're doing awesome work and sharing awesome information. And they're also on Instagram as well, so I'll put their link below. Today's quote is by Abby and Mack from their Meet Your Farmers part of their website. We like to say our food is beyond organic. Thanks, Joel Salatin. Because organic food doesn't mean much. There is more to be said in creating a nutrient-dense product that can regenerate the soil. Beyond organic to us means that we practice regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture methods build topsoil, sequester carbon, and create polycultures. We do this through holistic grazing, which simply means that we rotate our animals constantly. By rotating them, this allows the manure to be spread, their grazing to be maximized, and for the pasture to regrow naturally, which sequesters carbon, builds topsoils, and regenerates the soil.